Hello again YouTube. Well, we've made a bit more progress on the 1971 homemade trailer. As you can see, I've now got the 71 trailer's chassis stripped down and flipped up onto the Hilux tub. I've just got to do a few bits more of sizing up, and then I can actually centre it and then bolt it into the Hilux's several mounting bolts holes, which are all over the place. You've got two in the back, probably about 50 centimetres apart, and you've got a couple up. You got one up under there. You also got another one, another couple there, another couple there. So all up, it'll have close to 16 bolts holding the tub to the trailer chassis. But before I do that, I've actually got to do a few more bits of sizing up and notch out some bits of the chassis and frame, so that way this bit actually sits flush down onto the frame. Or I'll probably just most likely end up just putting some 50 by 50 mil square tubing in, so that way it gives it that extra bit of strength, because this angle iron, even though it's 50 by 50 by 3 mil, by the time it gets out to the drawbar here, even though it's not bolted in, it's a bit flimsy, so I end up putting a bit of extra reinforcement in just to strengthen this front section up where a toolbox and bike rack will go for the kids. And while I've got the chance, and while I've got clear access to the hubs and bearings, we'll be re-greasing them with Valplex grease, which is made by Valvoline, and this one is an all-purpose grease, especially designed for like CVs and bearings and everything else, and it looks pretty manky, but it's a high temp grease that can handle up to, I think it was, for high service load conditions. I've had this tub for over 2 years now for all trailers I've built, and just used it for the actual hubs and bearings and everything else. And I originally put it on my trailer 5 years ago, and it's still going strong and hasn't missed a beat, and I've done over 50,000 Ks with my original trailer that I built in 2010. So all I would have to do here is pop the split pin off, pop the castellated nut off, pop it out, check all the bearings, re-grease them, reassemble it after I've wire-wheeled all the rust and that off, because at the moment it's sounds pretty gnarly. So I end up redoing both sides, because that side's sounding pretty mean, and same with this side, because this side's only got the tyre on, because I'm just sizing up the wheel arches and getting a rough idea of where I'm going to put the tub, because this side's just equally as noisy. So depending on how good a condition the bearings are in, I'll reuse them, but if not, I'll just replace them with a set of new hubs and bearings. because they're only $40 each at the local auto store, so cheap enough to do. Okay, I've got this side, which effectively is the left hand side axle and axle stud down to its bare shell, and I'm in the process of cleaning it up, because I'm in the process of also checking the actual hub condition, and these are in, even though they look rough, internals are pretty good, so they'll just get wire wheeled, repainted and reinstalled. And the only thing is with the bearings, they're in good nick, they just need to be repacked with grease, which I'll end up redoing, and then chucking them back in place. So pretty much these hubs can be reused, they just need to be refurbished, so which is an easy enough job to do. So thankfully it's a straightforward fix, because they were pretty growly, as you could hear in one of the previous clips. If I remember, I'll put it in, but if not, they were pretty vocal, like this one was. So they're pretty vocal, so I was due for a refurb. So once I do the left hand side, I'll end up doing this right hand side, and then once I've done those, I will then sand back all the frame and give it a fresh coat of paint, probably a nice chassis black, and then bolt it into place, and then go from there. G'day again YouTube, just another update with the 1971 homemade trailer refurb. So as you can see, it's now upright and sitting on the chassis, and it's rolling. And before I do the final chassis adjustments, I'm just checking ride height and the position of the wheels, and I'm happy where it's all sitting. Just before I actually finalise the chassis and remove the last of the floor plate, then once I'm happy with how it's sitting and the ride height and it's all marked out, I will remove the last of the floor, and then in the actual L brackets for the chassis, I will actually be putting some 50 by 50 mil 3 mil thick RHS steel frame in there, just to actually steady the chassis up and strengthen it, and boost the actual tub up a bit, so it's got a bit more area to sit on rather than just the edge of the actual tub. So that way it gives it somewhere secure to bolt to, plus strengthens the chassis, because at the moment it's pretty floppy. So it's just to strengthen it up. And then up front I will also mount the toolbox, so that way they can actually bolt to the front section and the bulkhead. So I'm happy with the overall height that it is. At the moment I've got the esky under there because it is currently back heavy. So as you can see, the esky's there, and there is no support up front until I get a bit of extra weight up front. as seen, that pink is the trailer's original colour. The whole trailer was originally that sort of pinkish musk colour, and all the blue came off with the pressure washer, or the bulk of it did. And same with underneath. There's another one of the mounting points, same with this there, and that's the overall ride height and the position that the axle's going to be permanently. So I'm happy with that overall ride height. The overall dimensions of the tub is front to back to that point there where the actual tailgate starts is 155 centimetres, and from the inside section there to the same on that side is 152 centimetres. So the box section is nearly a square. So that will give it, just a quick calculation, it's nearly 1.5 square metres of actual loadable floor space. And overall it is, I had the measurements a minute ago, but it is 45 centimetres deep off memory, but we'll just check that. So overall it is a decent size tub, and yeah, it is 46 centimetres from the floor to the top of the tub is 46 centimetres, so 152 by 155 by 46 centimetres is a decent size tub, excluding the imposing sections of the wheel arches. So it's a decent size tub, and by the time the canopy is on, that will take it up to probably 1.2 metres depth, if not a bit more, because the canopy will actually go to the top of the rack at the front, then add an extra 15 centimetres towards the rear, depending on the model. Depending if I go with the standard ARB, TJM or Toyota factory unit. So overall I'll give it the overall decent size.